Good morning and thank you for joining us for the morning news on Prime TV today, the 30th of March 2026. The headlines. The Center for Policy Dialogue (CPD) has challenged political parties to consider adopting more women in the 70 constituencies to be created by the Electoral Commission of Zambia (ECZ). And the Energy Regulation Board (ERB) has disclosed that it is working towards strengthening the country's fuel security by establishing strategic reserves. And now the news in detail with me, Tommy Samuel Tembo. The Center for Policy Dialogue (CPD) has challenged political parties to consider adopting more women in the 70 constituencies that are being created by the Electoral Commission of Zambia (ECZ) ahead of the 2026 general elections. Organization chairperson Neo Simutanyi says this will help support the implementation of the proportional representation, which he said does not meet international standards as the number which is proposed for women representation is still not enough. Dr. Simutanyi, however, said since Bill 7 is now law, it has become difficult to revert and make changes on things that were not clearly agreed upon by stakeholders, but that it is not too late to take action and make changes that will serve the interest of the public. More details.
If government insists on a certain path which is contested, the chance is that it will be difficult to implement the changes that have been proposed. This is what we are concerned about. But since the constitutional amendment number 13 is law, we are all law-abiding. But we should ensure that it serves us and not serve interests that are private and other individuals. But this is the thing, that okay, we are apprehensive, but since it is law, we now want to see that actually it serves the interests of Zambian people. That's what is at stake. The issue of representation of women, I think, has been highlighted. That 20 is very, very small. It's only 7%. Very, very small. So, if we had our way, the number of them should have been increased.
Young people have been challenged to desist from engaging in political violence. Southern Province Minister Credo Nanjua says political violence has no room for productivity, hence the need for young people not to embrace it. Mr. Nanjua was speaking in Livingstone during the Zambia Parliamentary Model United Nations Conference organized by the Zambia Law Development Commission. More details coming up.
Young people are being called upon to reject political violence and division and instead become ambassadors of unity, peace, and national pride. As you were debating, I've seen some of you mean you are for real, you want to go to Parliament. But it is really difficult for you to go to Parliament if we continue with violence, if we continue with political hooliganism, divisions. So as young people, let's handwork each other with the government to fight against violence in politics, to create a smooth route, even for our female colleagues, to participate fully. So I urge you to stay away, reject political violence, reject division. Instead, let us become ambassadors of unity, peace, and national pride. Platforms such as this conference are therefore critical. They prepare young people to engage constructively in governance, policy development, and democratic leadership. They also affirm that young people are not passive observers, but active partners in shaping a more inclusive, responsive, and prosperous Zambia.
The Energy Regulation Board, ERB, has disclosed that it is working towards strengthening the country's fuel security by establishing strategic reserves. ERB Director General Elijah Sichone has revealed that several fuel storage facilities across the country are being activated or upgraded, including depots in Chipata, Mpika, Luapula, and Mongu. He says these facilities will not only support diversification of fuel sources, but also ensure the country maintains adequate reserves in line with international best practice of holding up to 90 days of fuel stock. Mr. Sichone has described the current situation as a wake-up call, adding that Zambia is taking steps in the right direction to secure a more resilient and sustainable energy future. Meanwhile, Mr. Sichone says Zambia is actively exploring alternative fuel sources and encouraging behavioral change as part of efforts to reduce reliance on conventional petroleum products. Favorite Chisi now reports.
Rising tensions in the Middle East, particularly the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran, are placing renewed pressure on global oil prices. Countries around the world are beginning to feel the effects, and Zambia is not an exception. In response, Energy Regulation Board is turning its attention to alternative energy sources with a particular focus on biofuel, which is derived from organic materials such as plants and waste. ERB Director General Elijah Sichone says the move is part of a broader effort to reduce the country's dependence on imported fuel.
The biofuel industry is an industry that is evolving. We've got a regulatory framework for that. I think we've got even standards in place for biofuel. And also, there's a policy by government that we should also be doing blending. We do need to blend, for instance, petrol with ethanol. You can do blends of even up to 10%.
He is also calling on key stakeholders to support the transition as the country looks to diversify its energy mix and improve resilience in the face of global shocks.
It's a question of the industry itself, coming to the party, and we've seen private sector interest in this country, those that are producing ethanol. There are OMCs, oil marketing companies, that have actually been producing ethanol and exporting to some other countries to actually do the blending. Because remember, where there's a market and where there's a need, that's when we see private sector, thriving.
Engineer Sichone says ERB is working to establish strategic fuel reserves across the country to help cushion against fuel supply disruptions.
The country is also looking at going forward, setting up our strategic reserves. We do have storage facilities dotted in various parts of the country. We are now in the process of activating the depot in Chipata, so that fuel can be stored there. We have a depot in Mpika that is operational. We have a depot in Luapula that is in the process of being activated. And we also have a depot in Mongu that is in the process of also being activated.
Favorite Chisi, Pram TV News, Lusaka.
President Hakainde Hichilema has committed to ensuring that Zambia remains a peaceful country before, during and after the 2026 general elections. The president has called on citizens to uphold peace and unity in order for the country to reach its greatest height in terms of development. He said this when he joined hundreds of congregants at the New Apostolic Church in Mongu. Brian Marcus Sakubita brought us the details.
The New Apostolic Church Kapona congregation in Mongu district was back to capacity as President Hakainde Hichilema made a special appearance during his 2-day working visit to Western Province. Various cabinet and provincial ministers, as well as senior UPND and government officials, also attended the service filled with worship songs. During the service, lead Apostle Elvis Movita delivered a powerful homily, urging attendees to love one another and uphold Christian values.
Love one another. Already has given us a new commandment in the book of John, that a new commandment I give you, Love one another as I have loved you. Beloveds in the Lord. We need to love one another. Love one another as a family. In the communities in which we live. And also as a country. We need to love one another. Beloveds in the Lord. So if we love one another with genuine love, that means putting the weight of Christ into practice.
President Hichilema in his address promised to maintain the current peace in the country, both now and after the upcoming general election.
Elections should not divide this family, the Zambian family. It's a choice of those that will lead us so we can better the opportunities for our people across the country. So we want to commit, sir, that on our part, we'll do everything to ensure that we have peaceful, credible elections on the 13th of August 2026.
He also generously donated a sum of 200,000 kwacha and pledged to support the church's construction projects. The church members expressed their gratitude towards President Hichilema for his support.
We just want to say thank you for what the president has done in Mongu, all the donations that he has done to the new projects and the church. We say thank you and God bless our president.
Tumela ho president kampo eba kone kufa kwa kereke ya runa. Tusiza huru akulu chimbula. Peneselu kakamanya huru snaka kereke. Inoskela kona kufeza mu ya runa. Nikampo eba ofebo president. Bai tumela luli mulimu abai terere.
As the service concluded, the president bid farewell to the congregation and continued his journey to Lusaka.
The government has commended the Barossa Royal Establishment in Western Province for the successful Kwamboka ceremony for the year 2026, which took place on Saturday, the 28th of March 2026 at Mulamba Harbour. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Gifty Sialobalo, said the government places high value on traditional ceremonies as demonstrated in various ways, such as the construction of chief palaces and other support mechanisms that have been put in place. He further suggests that Mulamba Harbour be the official docking point for the Nalikwanda, as the place is big enough to allow everyone to catch a glimpse of their traditional ruler. Meanwhile, some tourists from countries like Ghana have called for cultural exchange among African countries. Here's Marcus Brian Sakubita once more.
The annual migration of the Lozi King Lubosi Mwiko II and his people from the flooded palace in the plains called Lialui to the official capital in Limulonga District, Western Province, has been successfully completed. Thousands of people from around the world gathered to witness this historic event called Kwamboka, which simply means coming out of water.
We have seen their culture, and as Ghanaians, we are very proud of African culture. So whatever African culture is being espoused, we are very much in support. So whatever we have seen here, as we are going back, we are going to make sure that we tell people about the Zambian culture, Kwamboka, so that even come next year, we have a lot of Ghanaians, even traveling all the way from Ghana to come and be part of this ceremony. So we are very happy for everything that has happened.
We came to appreciate also your culture of dressing. That's why you can see we're also wearing a fugu from Ghana, so that we appreciate the culture on how fugu came about and even how what you are dressing and Misisi came about. So we are so grateful that we are here celebrating together.
My message to Africans is that we should celebrate each other. Like I keep saying, that Zambians do not really know what is happening in Kenya. Kenyans don't know what is happening in Malawi and all that. So it is very good for us to integrate the continent so that we can get to learn each other's culture.
Saluna kuri luskelo alateha banana bakala teha ibangelo sabalusu basusu pezisi zose na kukafela lutaha alushibene ni banana batobo na zeza hala nitaweza kutofumana kama kitu kombo kama ya ziraka chenu zetu na ni tuta sizo
The guest of honor at the ceremony was the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Minister of Local Government, Gift Sialubalo, highlighted the value that the government and President Hichilema place on preserving and celebrating cultural traditions.
I have heard one of your colleagues who posed the question to the President that from the time he took office, he is the first president who has attended a lot of traditional ceremonies. It shows how connected an individual is to reality. To say, as Africans, we have where we come from. We have what makes us. What makes us are the very traditional ceremonies, as they remind us or teach us of where we are coming from. It's really super. You have to look at what the major ingredients that makes Tukwamboka traditional ceremony a success is the water levels. The water levels are superb, very, very good. And also the organization this time around, you are aware that they have moved from the Mulonga, now they have docked here. So you look at the area, how beautiful it is. Even people were able to watch from afar. If I had my way, I would have loved that this area be adopted as one or the most suitable area to be docking, because you look at the environment, so it's very easy even with the government to come in and put even the concrete stairs so that people can nicely sit and view this very important traditional ceremony.
In addition, President Hichilema had the opportunity to engage with two social media influencers from Ghana, demonstrating the global significance of events such as the Lozi Kings migration.
The Nsakwa Yabakaonde Association in Northwestern Province has strongly condemned what it describes as rising tribal remarks following the brutal mob killing of a 46-year-old woman, Endless Helen Kamutumbe. The association says such sentiments risk deepening divisions at a time when communities should be united in demanding justice. Speaking after a closed-door meeting at the Kalumbila Civic Center, the association's chairperson, Brenda Nkwanga, said women across the province are calling for swift and fair justice over the killing. She, however, warned against exploiting the tragedy to fuel tribal tensions, noting that the victim, a Kaonde woman, was from Chief Ingwes area in Kasempa district. Meanwhile, Kalumbila district chairperson of the association, Thomas Langson, stressed that the murder must not be politicized and has urged those spreading divisive narratives to stop immediately. We have more details in this report.
The Nsakwa Yabakaonde Association in Northwestern Province has condemned rising tribal remarks following the mob killing of a 46-year-old Endless Helen Mutumbe. Speaking after a closed-door meeting in Kalumbila Civic Center, Chairperson Brenda Nkwanga said the women across the province are demanding swift and fair justice, cautioning against using the tragedy to fuel tribal tensions.
Ateba no beba ine tubansakwa ne bantu bonse baji mu Nsakwa bene bakawonde bakuno acha kyoba uba mwana wakuno ke mwana wa Nsakwa ke mwana wafuma mu yatweba kuyana kumwipa ya busaji byobya keke awamani kajiki kanje kumweka napo kajiki bena kumweka na kuno kwetu na mambo amagwe onka oaiya abo bonka bamwisa baiya bo batina mitima yakubura rusane muntu wafana kuipa ya muntu byobya keke awamane na ye inetu emwandi baipa yangana ke bantu bafuma kwa repa kyojo tubena kwa bana mbankambo eba kwashe bano bantu bauba bibe kajineresa kechiwiba taraburongoni.
Meanwhile, District Chairperson Thompson Langson stressed that the killing must not be politicized or tribalized, and urging police to intensify investigations in Kisasa. The association warns that such sentiments risk deepening divisions, urging communities to remain united in the call for justice.
Yotuzina mana kebe tunenemba tuibantu ba tribalism ine ayanga mbiro nayo yatweramo na mambo akurusa ate basata rusa kemutwere bantu bakwabo keba memba ine bakitisha mu tribalism ane baba kwetu mubera kwambaye waruzimi mwena kwitushingidzisha babena kwipayangana abe bonka babena kwiya benyi kwetu tukomatuke tuyuka kwipaya abantu nena kwa mama ba government mwane mube sensitize burongo kuno kumpunja yakarumbira twatwerwa na barwanyi.
The association has since called on government to act urgently and ensure all those responsible are brought to justice.
We are not happy as Gasempa district chairperson.
Naumva awewa fwa kaonde katika timu wemba ne katika timu karui ne kaonde murongo wetu pano kwitu none napo pa tribalism muzenyenye bamwe mwiba kurumpe bingi mwafana kuyuka ngabe mubena kwamba.
Jackson Mwansa reporting for Prime Television News in Kalumbila district of Northwestern Province.
And that item has brought us to the end of the morning news. But before we go, we look at the headlines again. The Center for Policy Dialogue, CPD, has challenged political parties to consider adopting more women in the 70 constituencies to be created by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ. And finally, the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, has disclosed that it is working towards strengthening the country's fuel security by establishing strategic reserves. To join us for more news at 11:30 a.m. when we bring to you the mid-morning news. On behalf of the entire news crew, I'm Tommy Samuel Tembo. Have a productive week.